Yeah, I haven't
And
seen
rain.
Bowen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call our May 3rd meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to take a roll call to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Lysick.
Here.
Ranke.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Haas.
Here.
Keen. Here. 10 present.
A quorum is present. Please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderman Lysick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do have public hearings this evening, but if there's no objection from the council, I would like to quickly jump out of order and do the mayor's report first. Mostly because I'd like to invite the women from the soon-to-be Conrad Gardens Neighborhood Association to join me up on the dais here, if you could please come up. They each have 20-minute speeches ready. You can pick which side. Thank you, you're bold. So, a couple of years ago, the city of West Allis went in to set up a neighborhood association program that had been implemented in several other communities. And we were working with our development team and members of the council, and Patrick specifically. We were looking at what the city of Green Bay had done, looking at so many communities around the area. And we kicked off this program, and then a few neighborhoods organized, got going, got off the ground. And then, as we all know how the last 2 years have been, COVID hit, which made it very difficult to organize neighbors, much less stand on their porch and ask them to join a neighborhood association. But we're sort of getting to a point now with the vaccines and the numbers and such. There is some level of comfort among more and more people to get together and organize. When we put these together, we were looking at several facets of organizing these neighborhoods. We were looking to create a welcoming and supportive community, not only for the people that have lived there for decades, but people that had moved in recently, looking to improve property values and attract new residents, establish effective communication lines with the city departments and the city officials to help work towards a better neighborhood. And also there was a funding component, so the associations were able to apply for funding to do projects in the neighborhood up to $1,500, I believe, if they wanted to do a little temporary public art or just some plantings in some of the green space in the area, things like that. So I just want to first give props to Alderperson Grisham and Keen for their work in helping get this off the ground in the Conrad Gardens neighborhood. But even more so, I want to give huge props to Mia, Myra, and Razel, who are three of the organizers that really took Conrad Gardens by the reins and got it off the ground. So I am doing this as a huge plug, but also encouraging everybody to try to do this everywhere in the city. If you have one, feel free to find out who is the chairperson or who is the board in your neighborhood, and if there isn't one, feel free to reach out to us to help you organize. So, did I forget somebody? Okay, good. So, I just want to give you all a quick round of applause. Thanks.
Yay, thank you.
Keep clacking till our clerk gets back up here. I said Mia. Sorry, Mari. I said Mia. I'm sorry. Thank you. I knew I was going to do that. The only other thing I want to mention on the mayor's report is on Thursday of this week, some of you who watch CBS 58 might have noticed that Nicole Coughlin, who is now with CBS 58, has been doing hometown visits, and Thursday she will be visiting West Allis. Today she was in East Troy. I'm hoping that we can provide her with better weather when she comes to West Allis on Thursday, but I'll be doing an interview with her Thursday morning, and then she'll be visiting various spots around the city over the course of the day. So that should be exciting. That does conclude the mayor's report. We'll now jump back to our regularly scheduled agenda, and item D will be our public hearings. Number 1 and number 2 will be taken together, and I will ask the clerk to introduce those.
Ordinance to repeal and recreate the city zoning code as amended by the Safety and Development Committee on March 29, 2022, and ordinance to repeal and recreate the city zoning map.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Clerk. Thank you, Council members. Tonight we are going to be summarizing, hopefully pretty quickly, the amendments that the Safety and Development Committee has proposed for the proposed city zoning code and the city zoning map. So first, looking at the city zoning code, there are several kind of key changes we looked at, some updates to the home-based business regulations, updates for restaurants, and then some other corrections. So the first change, and probably the largest, that the Safety and Development Committee proposed back on March 29th, I believe, was to increase some of the restrictions found in 19.37, Part 2, as it relates to home-based businesses. So these are what were formerly known as home occupations that have clients visiting the site or packages being sent from the site. The restrictions that are being changed are highlighted in yellow. So first, no more than 4 clients may enter the premises per day. The timing that appointments are allowed at has been restricted a little bit further, from originally 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And then last, that certain licensed activities under the state of Wisconsin statutes will not be allowed as home-based businesses. And so this is a hard to read screenshot from from the state statutes. A variety of these occupations include things like nurses, chiropractors, dentists, acupuncturists, barbers and cosmetologists, licensed family therapists, massage therapists, etc. These types of professions would not be allowed as a home-based business, so not if clients were actually visiting the site, but would still continue to be allowed as a home office if there are no clients visiting the site. Another proposed change is for our restaurants. In the proposed code, a restaurant could be a limited use, meaning that it would be permitted if it meets certain conditions without a need for a public hearing, if it is smaller than 2,000 square feet, and if it meets these certain time requirements, basically that it's not open at night. So during weekdays, that means 10 p.m. through 6 a.m., and then weekend nights, I guess I should say, from midnight to 6 a.m. So a little bit more flexibility on Fridays and Saturdays. Then there were several corrections that staff has recommended be included in this amendment. First is to adjust some of the nicotine sales regulations to better match the existing ordinance. The original proposal kind of mistranscribed some of that language, so this is just kind of cleaning up that mistake there. Second is to adjust the principal use definition. This would more clearly show that there can be multiple principal uses on a single lot, and more clearly show that a mixed use isn't allowed type of use in the city. And third, to adjust the 1 and 2 unit dwelling permissions. So in the original update, there was some, I guess, sorts of misapplication of how we wanted to do this. We want you to be able to do a 1 or 2 unit residential in addition to a business in commercial districts. And in the current iteration of the code, as it was originally proposed, it was going to not allow those. It would allow with 3 or more units, but not with 1 or 2. So this is just a correction so that 1 or 2 units could be above a business in a commercial setting. Then, since we met last, there was a couple small corrections we'd like to further make. First was to adjust the subtitle within subchapter 2, the floodplain regulations, and those references to that subchapter. This was not really in the scope of the proposed zoning code update, as the subchapter wasn't what we were focused on, but we heard from MMSD that this would be something that would be good to change. The existing title is the River Flood Control District, and this really applies to any stream or river in the city, so we would like to change this to Flood Control District, so it could also be more clearly applied to the Honey Creek and Kinnickinnic River. The title isn't legally binding, so it's already being applied in this manner. This is just making it more clear. And then the last change is to update the principal use table to reflect that commercial light industrial flexes were intended to be allowed as conditional uses in C3 and C4. Those are already listed in the criteria for the conditional use there. They just weren't included on the table as kind of a mistype there. And then the second part of this is the city zoning map. So the proposed update includes just a few things here. First, staff in the Planning and Zoning Office worked with the IT department to update our GIS database to reflect many rezonings that have been done in recent years and to correct some just small errors that were found in our GIS database. And then we also improved the color scheme of the map. Here's the map as we have the amended proposal. These color changes are just to make those districts more distinct, so it's more easy to see the differences when just a regular person is looking at the map. And then lastly, the timeline. So just a recap, on February 23rd was the original Plan Commission vote. March 15th were the original public hearings. The item was then held in the Safety and Development Committee. On March 29th, the Safety and Development Committee met and proposed several amendments and referred it back to Plan Commission. April 27th, last week, the Plan Commission voted and they recommend that the Common Council adopt both the City Zoning Code and the City Zoning Map. And then today we have public hearings and then the Common Council vote. This was published via Class 2 notice. Staff recommends adoption, and there have been no objections to date.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Roeder. Are there any questions from the Common Council on these public hearings?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Vitale.
Yeah, I'd really like to give Zachary, of course, the Development Department just as well. You know, first of all, from first time that I've been seeing him in his work skill, I believe, he done a good job tonight. So I'm happy with that nice young man, that we have within our city here, really. Thank you, Zachary.
Finally got his call to the big leagues.
Thank you, Alderman.
Any other questions from the Common Council or comments? Okay, hearing none, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience on this public hearing? Okay, hearing none, we will close our public hearings this evening, and we will move to item E, which is citizen participation. This is when the council can receive information from members of the public. During this 30-minute period, each speaker must announce their name and address for our official record, and please limit your comments to one statement of no more than 5 minutes. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay. Seeing none, we will close citizen participation and go to page 2. Under item F, our standing committees will be meeting during recess. The details on those meetings are listed on the top of page 2 of your agendas. Item G is the mayor's report, which we had already done, so we will go to item H, which are reports from the alder people. Are there any reports this evening from members of the council? Okay, seeing none.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the April 19th, 2022 Common Council minutes.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We'll go to item J, License and Health Committee. Alderman Vitale.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for approval of the license for 6139 West Beloit Road.
Okay.
All the inspection were completed, so everything is in an outstanding position at this time. So I'll move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. 10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Then we'll move to item K.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
If there's no objection from any of the council members, I would move that the consent agenda be approved as submitted.
Second.
No objection. Any discussion? If not, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. 10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman
I
Lysick.
move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in recess.
Mayor. New phone. I'm trying.